That should work. Perfect. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Glad to see you guys again in real life. Well, I haven't met all of you, some of you. Congrats for getting into second year, I would say. Even after the whole COVID-19 situation, which is it's an achievement, I would say. It's an added challenge on top of the challenging DAE already. So yeah, welcome to second year of game development and sound design, though we're going to mainly focus on game development because sound design has its new structure mainly in first year. I don't know if there are any people here from audio design. If you want more information, I would say talk to Alexander because it's a bit different now because there's this transition going from the minors of audio design to the full major under game development. So if you need more specific information, definitely go and talk to Alexander or email him. He will give you more information. I can give you information about game development. Before we start, a small presentation. About game development, so in the first year, we mainly focus on learning C++. This year we're going to go more back projects, individually but also in group. Because as you all probably know, in second semester you have game projects, which is basically make a virtual slice of a game. And that's very important because today we're going to try to focuses on AAA games you don't make by yourself. There is not well known mute the desktop sound. There we go. No, I muted the desktop sound. No audio, and it's done already. Sorry for destroying your ears. That's fine. Your game development, you don't need your ears. You just need your eyes and your hands. I think that's the most important part. So yeah, you're gonna make games. Obviously, it's impossible in what we do in DAE to make a game just like in AAA. Right? We don't have all those skill sets in here. We don't have people just producing or just doing design or just focusing on one part of programming. You're going to be a bit of a versatile person that does a bit of everything, a bit of gameplay, a bit of graphics, so some shaders, going to play around with the physics. But nonetheless, we try to simulate a bit the industry and how the typical process is of making a game. And me, myself, I'm a veteran of DAE. I know what it is to work on individual projects and also on group projects, and sometimes group projects can be a struggle, definitely if you don't always agree with your teammates, but it's a part of the learning. You have to learn to communicate, to talk up, to speak up and say what your ideas are, but also to kill your babies and to dare to just say, hey, maybe it's actually a bad idea, and listen to your teammates. So working in team is hard in the beginning, but it's something you really, really need to learn. But try to enjoy it, because that's important. You're gonna make this game project in third year. You're actually gonna have a bigger group project, and you're gonna do internship, which you also work with people. Then you probably go to the industry, where you're also gonna work with people. So it's very important that you, one, try to enjoy working with people, even if you're an introvert. But then also that you still try to push your own ideas and to enjoy the actual process of making a game. While in first year you get this assignment for programming that says do A, B, C, and D, and you just do it, brainless, it works, awesome. If you actually make a project, it's a whole different process, right? You're gonna have to iterate, reiterate, fix bugs, work on something for maybe 2-3 weeks, and then in the end say, damn, it's actually crap. Let's do it again. So it's a part of the process, but it's actually fun, right? That's why you're here. You're here to make games, not to probably just focus on one particular part of a game, but games in general. Of course, in third year, you're probably gonna go a bit more in specialization. You might like more graphics programming, or you might like to actually do gameplay more than any other facet, which is totally fine. But here in DAE, you're gonna do a bit of everything. It's very important. Previous years, a lot of students worked on projects just like you're gonna do, and we actually had a lot of very cool end results. Some of them are graphically more pleasing than others, but that doesn't mean that the others are boring. No, they actually have a lot of good game mechanics. A tip that I can give you guys is, if you make a game, make sure you have one good core mechanic. That one core mechanic will make it fun. If that one core mechanic doesn't work, all the other things you do will be useless, because it will still be boring, it will still not work. So focus on one mechanic that is fun. It can be anything, right? You can focus on single player, it can be a co-op game. I would try to avoid multiplayer because it gives you a lot of issues, because designing gameplay for multiplayer is way different than for single player. Actually, there are some interesting tricks that are used. For example, who played Counter-Strike once in his life? You probably all know the kill cam. The only reason why it's in there, it's psychological. And it's because if you play and you shoot a guy, you might have the idea that you shot him while you actually didn't, and the kill cam will show you like, oh yeah, you shot him. But that's okay. But if you're the victim, you'd be like, what the hell, how can he hit me from behind the wall? And then you see the kill cam and it's like, oh yeah, he saw me. That's actually not true. Often it's just this physics delay and everything, but people accept it, so it's okay. So yeah, multiplayer is something that is hard, but we had people doing it. We had a tank game where it was purely online, which actually worked, which was fun. But again, make sure you enjoy the actual process. That's the most important thing. Also in styles, I mean, you can go full 3D, you can go 2.5D. I don't think 2D is allowed, but you can create some cool things that kind of look like a 2D platformer. And hopefully afterwards, you know the skills to work on cool big games in your internship, like Horizon, and I think the previous one was an Assassin's Creed game, I think. Or even work on smaller titles in an indie company in Belgium. All the skills you've learned will definitely be useful. Right? Awesome games. Big games. Anti-Graviator, Far Cry, Guns and Cannoli. I don't know which one this one is. Anybody an idea? Is it Divinity? Is it the Divinity game, right? something dragon. That always works for me. I love D&D, so that works. Awesome. Now let's continue. There's a lot of cool screenshots, but I think the main idea is what I said, is enjoy the process and making games. Now, there's a few changes that happened in game development. I'll go over a few of them, but mainly I want to talk about the big parts under game development in second year. So first of all, you have the programming part. So you have programming 3 and 4, where you'll continue sharpening your C++ skills. You're going to see different topics regarding multi-threading, how to work with binary files. You're going to see some stuff about multiplayer, I think, as well. So it's more focused on C++, and there's, for example, going to be multi-threading, can be 2-3 weeks. You're going to focus on that. You learn the basics, then you move on to another topic. In the end, what we try to do here at the university is give you a bit of everything. Because it's important that you've seen all different categories, so then the moment you need something, you can start specializing on your own. That's a very important thing. The industry often looks for what they call T-shaped people, which means you have a broad skills of a lot of small things, you know, a bit of art, you know, a bit of graphics, a bit of gameplay, but then at some point when you start your career, you're going to specialize in one particular branch. And that vertical bar, that's not something we can do. That's not something you can do in a few years. That takes years and years of working and honing improving your skills. So we try to give you that horizontal bar, which is a bit of everything, give you a good fundamental knowledge, so the moment you want to specialize in something, you can. But it's again then up to you to do it. Right? Graphics programming is what you're going to get from me. We're going to focus there on graphics. It's a lot of math, a lot of C++. You're gonna write your own software ray tracer and rasterizer. You're gonna work with DirectX. So we're gonna try to learn how the GPU works and how we can do some cool graphics, how lighting works and stuff like that. Gameplay programming is a bit of a weird name. It's actually AI in games. So because if you work in gameplay, you often communicate with the AI team. There's this gray area where you can ask, like, is this gameplay or is it AI? Like if you work with enemies. So here we focus mainly on AI in games, but you'll see that it transitions pretty well to gameplay the moment you want to use it in a game. And it's going to be how do you find your way in the 3D world. It's going to be how do you work with state machines, how can you make decisions, behavior trees, stuff like that. So pretty cool. And then tool development is something new. Well, it came back from the old days. We had it years ago, then it disappeared, but now it's back. In tool development, you're actually going to look at how you can program tools that will accelerate your process. And the thing is, a lot of technical artists write smaller tools in Python to do that. Like if it's an art pipeline, that's not what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on how do you make solid tools. For example, you have this game engine. How do you make an editor for this game engine? And I don't say you're going to make a full-fledged editor, but you're going to see all the core principles of, okay, how can we do that? Which languages do exist? If we have a C++ engine and we write our editor in C#, how do we make them communicate? What are typical pitfalls and stuff like that? So that's all under tool development, which is pretty cool. I'm very happy that course is back in the curriculum because it's, again, one of the profiles that are heavily sought in the industry. So next to graphics and technical artists in general. Your game dev, you still have art. I always say it's very important that you have art so you are able to communicate with artists. That's one thing. The second thing is I really want you guys to know the pipeline. How do artists work? How do they create an asset from concept to finished product? And that's, of course, one, like I said, for communication. If they have an issue, they often come and talk about the issue and they might phrase it a bit different than what the actual issue is. So hopefully, because you know the pipeline, you're able to figure out what they mean. But secondly, if you then do tool development, you kind of also know, okay, if I want to make tools, what is important for an artist? What can I do to make their lives a bit easier? Because if you definitely go to AAA, it's content driven. There's a lot of games with a lot of assets. You probably want good tools that help speed up that process. So you'll often see in game development, definitely in AAA, that there's this curve that during high production, there's a lot of artists working to create a lot of content, and there's still the same amount of programmers, but it's because of all that content. So yeah, those tools and pipeline are very important. So in 3D for games, you're going to focus on that. What is the typical pipeline for making AAA game assets? I think it's using the PBR pipeline here. I think it's apart from the GAP classes. So you're going to make some cool assets. And then on top, you're also going to focus on game mechanics. What you see there is you're going to learn to work with Unity and Unreal. It's basically touching upon the basis of those engines, so you kind of can start prototyping games. Because that's what you need in game projects. You want to quickly prototype your ideas in Unity or Unreal to then, before you actually start making the final product, to then transition. So it's very important that you learn how to prototype. We just give you two engines, the two most used engines, being Unity and Unreal. You often see, if you go to AAA in your internship, a lot of the tools and those engines are actually similar to what they have in the industry. Even if it's a proprietary engine, they have also node graph-based systems. They have the shader graphs. They have content managers and stuff like that. So it's kind of similar what is out there in the industry, which is not publicly available. So in game mechanics, you're going to focus on prototyping. You're also going to there use whatever you learned in game design. So please use that knowledge to make fun games. And then the other part is environments. How do you make cool environments that actually help your gameplay? An interesting example that I always gave was I remember playing Battlefield. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember being in this huge battle and you had to basically go from point A to point B, and I actually reached point B without diverting into other paths in the world, and I was like, huh, how did that come? And it's actually a psychological thing combined with the lighting in the level. So they kind of guided me towards wherever they wanted me to go. So I still had the sense that there was this huge battle going on. But actually it was obviously very small in scope, and they didn't want me to go to that side of the battlefield. But the fact that it worked so well with the art and the level made me like not realize that they were guiding me, and it gave me a very good game experience. And that's an interesting, or I think a good example of good game design combined with good environments and good lighting and good assets to help the player get that experience. And then, yeah, last but not least, the game projects, which will be a big part, is actually making that vertical slice of the game. So here you work in team together with, it's normally game developers, with the people from game graphics production. It's also possible, I'm not sure if it's in this semester, but definitely in the last year, you're also going to have people from IGP helping you guys out. Might be as a technical artist, might be as a producer, but they definitely are valuable, so don't look down at them. I know it's a thing, but they're valuable. They're definitely valuable. Oh yeah, that was a bad animation. But actually, there's a change. Last year, there was first algorithms and then game tech. This academic year, for the first years, it's actually swapped. They first get algorithms and then game tech. Doesn't affect you guys. Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it's first game tech now.
It's first game tech now, then algorithms. The thing is, it doesn't really matter that much for you guys. It's kind of the same content. But if you see it, don't be like, what? You see the same things. Now, like I said, you're going to hone or use the skills from last year. So for environments, you're going to use everything you learned in visual language and design, as well in your art courses. Same goes for mechanics. Programming 3 and 4 obviously build on programming 1 and 2. Gameplay uses math and programming, and then, like I said, you'll enjoy my course because there everything gets together. Cool. A thing you'll notice, because of the whole COVID-19 situation, is this awesome timetable, which might look a bit weird in the beginning. What you'll notice is that every day has assigned one of your 5 courses. And that's going to be for the entire group. So your group, so you're in the English group, you're this big bunch of people, this big pool of people. We actually divide you in smaller chunks. And then depending on your class, you get assigned a classroom and a given time slot during that particular day for that course. The other groups will have either a same time slot or a different one, but also on the same day. So you're going to have the course on the same day. The Dutch people as well, I think. And it's the reason why we do this is because of the COVID-19 restrictions. Because you can only have 1.5 hours of class, then there needs to be a break, there needs to be spacing in between you guys and stuff like that. So the reason why you see this is just because of that. There's not going to be a lot of changes in how it's perceived by you guys, except that we're going to provide both an online and offline content. So, for example, for graphics programming, there's going to be a live moment where we're going to talk an hour and a half about the theory and the content. You can ask questions. We might do a group review of some code. But then the other theory will be published online, so you can look at it. There's also going to be an online one-on-one feedback moment and stuff like that. So we changed the course a bit to have both an online and offline presence. We wanted the offline presence because we want to see you guys. It's nice to meet you before we probably will go full offline if COVID hits again, which we expect will happen. So we're going to try to use those offline moments mainly to know each other. So if you mail me that I'm not this weird person behind this fake avatar on the internet. So please come to those offline moments if you can, right? Of course, if you feel sick, don't come. Yes, I think that's the most important part about that. You guys will be switched to the square for the entire second year, which I know a lot of people are like, no. But yeah, one of my mottos is deal with it. We also have to move. I moved my desk last week from the square to from the level to the square. I'm also here now. So yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. Just try to make the best out of it. These are the classrooms. So just like in the level, the first number defines which floor it is, and then the other 2 numbers defines which classroom. These 4 classrooms, I think, are the ones that are being used in game development. So they're all of them on the 2nd floor. So just if you go there, look around. There's also this guiding. You cannot just go anywhere. You're gonna see there are some signs that say, oh, you can't go this direction. You have to walk around. Please follow those rules. It's again COVID-19 regulations. Nothing we can do about it. In graphics programming, I'm actually gonna share this as well, just in case you forgot which classroom it is. It's better to have this before you start running around in the building. But yeah, we moved to the square for kind of everything in second year game development. For game projects, also interesting fact, as an end goal for the game projects is that your game or your vertical slice will be published on, I think it's called itch.io. So it's publicly available for other people, which is awesome, but that also means that games from previous years are available. So if you're brainstorming and thinking about games, if you want to play a lot of games to just get inspiration, just go to the itch.io of DAE and play games from previous years. See what they did. I think there's also from the game jam we did last year or 2 years ago. I'm so bad with timing. I think there's also the game jam results on there. So please go and play games to just have a feeling of what you might want to do in your game projects. And then share it on your portfolio, obviously, if it's a cool game. And then, yeah, if everything goes well and you pass this year, prepare for the year after, which is grad work and group projects. Like I said, group projects builds upon game projects, just bigger scope. There's going to be a bit more what we call paperwork. You have to try to do a bit more scheduling and planning your work, talking to your supervisors, a bit more even simulating the industry. Grad work is a bachelor thesis where you're going to pick a topic that you're interested in that you haven't seen in DAE, but it's probably an extension of one of the topics you've seen in DAE. You're going to learn that thing on your own, and then you're going to make a tiny applied project with it. But you don't have to really think about it right now. First focus on second year. And then, yeah, internship is the most awesome one, obviously, where you can hopefully go to the companies to do your internship. Hopefully by then, it's going to be less of a hassle than for the people who are in third year right now. I hope for them it all goes smoothly. I'll try to help them there if possible. Cool. Another thing that you probably remember from last year as well is called the thing called the work planner. It's going to be again available on Lego. Please have a look at it. We as teachers try to make sure all the deadlines are not all in 1 week, so you don't die by us. I mean, if we add that on top of COVID, the death numbers would be way higher. But take a look. If you are one of those people that like to plan ahead, you can use this to plan ahead, right? And this also works for holidays. You can see which deadlines are after the holidays. If you're like, yeah, but I planned a trip. Yeah, I mean, you know upfront where your deadlines are. That's definitely not an excuse. And again, COVID, I mean, how much can you travel? Anyway. So yeah, definitely take a look at that. If there are any inconsistencies or things that you remark, please contact the teacher of that particular course, because you'll see that every raw here is actually allocated to one particular course. And then yeah, you'll see like the red ones are the deadlines. There's also things called milestones, which we now better define. So a deadline is something that is graded. Milestone is usually not graded. And then yeah, there's also sometimes like, hey, this is weekly assignment that's not graded, but we expect you to work X amount of hours on this, and this will help you then for the actual deadline that you have. So have a look at it. I'm not sure when it's going to be published, but it's going to be published as soon as possible for sure. There's a question. Yes?
I'm sorry, are we going to have something like Q weeks again?
In second year, there's no Q week.
Okay, cool.
You know how exams work by now normally?
Yeah. So first,
the point of the Q week is just getting new students. How does an exam work?
So for the people online, the question was, will we have a Q week? First years will, obviously. They cannot get rid of Q week, but you guys don't. In the past, we had one Q week exam for graphics programming, but that's also gone. We don't expect you to do Q week.
Except if you're IOT.
Except if you're IoT, indeed. If you still have courses in the first year, please do go to the Q week for first year, or you might fail that course again. Also important, if you have courses from first year, right? I know you probably like the courses from second year because it builds upon the things you already did and you're probably good at. But please focus on those first year courses. Don't drag them along. Because even if you pass all your courses in second year, if you're still stuck with that first year course, it might happen that you cannot continue DAE. You need to pass all courses. So please, if you have a course in first year, focus on that mainly, right? I would say that's a priority. Just get rid of that first year course and then continue with the second year's courses. It's English. I'm going to switch to this. These are the learning outcomes for DAE for second year. I think they're also available online on Lego, but most of them are kind of straightforward, and all classes try to attune to that. So you see, like, okay, one of the things is we want you to have an overview of the complete production process. Awesome. That's what we're doing, right? That's this horizontal bar. It's team-based, so yeah, you're gonna work on the group project, but also for other courses, you can talk to each other, right? It's allowed for me, I think Tom agrees with that as well. You can talk to your fellow programmers about problems and help each other out. You just don't share code and solutions. You just don't copy paste from other people, right? That's not how it works. But you can brainstorm about problems. That's totally fine. So that's also team-based. High work pressure and deadlines. Yeah, that's what we're known for. Research is also, you're going to have to research maybe a gameplay mechanic, but then in third year you have grad work, which is a bit more research. We also always want you to have that critical attitude whenever you make something. Like I said, with your game, you might have this awesome idea that turns out to be utterly crap. Then try to learn to see that and listen to people and actually then, yeah, probably ditch it. Planning, so try to plan everything, then obviously make and program interactable 3D applications, so video games in our case. Yeah, programming skills. I mean, most of them here, the things are pretty straightforward for you guys. I would say focus on just the courses, what is expected, what you like doing, and those are automatically integrated into the courses anyway. Plan your work. So one ECTS, or study point in Dutch, is 24 hours of work. So for example, if you have math 1 here, which is 6 ECTS, that means 150 hours of work. Imagine you have 4 hours of class, so spread over 12 weeks, you get about 48 hours of physical class of math, which means you still have around 100 hours of math stuff you need to do at home, right? And a lot of the courses work like that. Most courses are 6 ECTS. We usually had the 4 hours of theory, but now that kind of changes a bit to the 1.5 hours physical contact. But we're going to provide you with some extra course material online. We also take this into account, but it means you kind of can see, depending on the amount of theory that is online and the amount of classes you have, what the rough estimate is of how much we expect you to work at home. Sometimes it's a bit off, that's normal. It's not always easy to do that. Also, some assignments are a bit different than others, but we try to stick to this. If you also use this as like the red thread to go through your career in DAE, it will work out, right? The only thing you can do now is you can make this decision. It's 12 weeks, right? There are some holidays in between. You could say, I'm going to spread my work over the 10 weeks and kind of work 10 hours a week at home. Or you can say, hey, you know what? If I count in the vacations and the exam weeks, it's actually 17 weeks. I'm going to spread it, which means 6 hours a week at home for every single course, of course. But I would say don't just think in terms of this. I would actually say use this combined with that work planner to see when your deadlines are and then make your planning, right? One semester is again 30 ECTS, a year is 60, 3 years is 180, so then you get your diploma. You need all the 180 ECTS to succeed and get your degree. If you would have any questions regarding this, Alex is our coordinator. He will gladly answer all your questions. If you have course-specific questions already, you can definitely send it to your to the person who's responsible for that. I think so. Graphics is me. I think programming 3 and 4 is Tom and Alex. Gameplay is Josha and Andries. And for the art courses, I don't know who's responsible. But in general, if you have questions, you don't know where to direct them, just send them to Alex. He will gladly help you. I have one more presentation for you guys, which I have to give as well. which is regular or general measures for COVID-19. Sadly, I don't like giving this, but I have to. So, these are the rules up until further notice, which means they can change. You have to adapt to it. It's very annoying for you guys, but it's also annoying for us because we always have to change the way we work and how we plan classes. So we try to look into the future, and we came up with this good plan. I think that will work, but if something changes, don't blame us, teachers. It's not something we are in control of, right? So depending on those internal and external factors, it might change. If you want general information about COVID-19 or Corona from the point of view from HOEST, there's this link that you can visit, so hoest.be/coronavirus. Updates will also obviously be published on Lego, and if you have the default settings, you will get a notification through email. Please, by the way, always check Lego or /Canvas and your emails. Those are the official communication tools from HOEST. Don't just believe what a fellow student says. Be critical. The problem with that is not that your fellow student might be lying on purpose, because if that happens, he's just or she's just a scumbag. But often there's this miscommunication if person A received the message in an incomplete way or in the wrong way, and then spreads that message. You've probably seen that thing where people saying things like 6 people in a row, and when you look at the original message and where it lands, it's way different. So listen to what is published on Lego. If you have questions, just email your teachers, right? If you're doubting, just ask. That's the most important thing. If you have questions regarding safety in general, you can email HOEST as well using veiligheid, which stands for safety @hoest.be. We start this semester in what they call Code Yellow, which stands for low risk, which means we're gonna have both, like I said, physical contact, well, physical being on-campus moments of classes. Physical, I don't mean touch each other. So we're gonna have those moments on top of having online content. If we change to orange, that means there probably will be no on-campus classes and everything will go back full online, kind of like it was last semester. Again, we're not in control of this. If it happens, it will be announced. Just be aware of it. If it's red, yeah, I'm getting all my shotguns and stocking myself food, and yeah, sorry. What is it? Darwinism. The strongest will survive. I saw this good sketch once that said, don't be the guy that hoards the food, get the guns. Because the guy with the food that has no guns, you're just going to take it over anyway. He did the hoarding for you. And if you go back to green, which I hope will happen in the future, things will go back as it was. So yeah, like I said, reduced amount of contact hours. Classrooms are assigned to particular study programs. So like I said, we have the square. You're going to have the second floor. That's going to be only game development. We'll see how it works with the actual game projects, but that's next semester. So we'll see according to which level of danger we are in. Also, I also already mentioned this one-way circulation. So follow the signs that are out there. If there are no signs, just stay on the right side when you use hallway or staircase. Limit your movement on campus, which means if after 1.5 hours it's done for that day, just go home. Go to your dorm. Don't stay along. Just don't sit anywhere for an hour. You'll notice that they took away a lot of the tables and chairs and all the infrastructure. That's just to force you guys to go home. I never had that. If you have classes for more than 1.5 hours, you have to take a break for 30 minutes. We also need to ventilate the room. So that's why we have that. I don't know if there are any courses that have more than 1.5 hours in one day. But if that happens, you're going to have a 30-minute break. We're also going to kind of force you to go outside where it's a bit safer, get fresh air. Again, keep your distance with your fellow students. If you have to sneeze and everything, pay attention. I mean, you have a mouth mask. Also do the elbow sneeze. Yeah, don't do what my colleague once saw on the train where it was like somebody has to sneeze and took off the mask and sneezed. Like, thank you. Don't be that person. Wash your hands or disinfect them. So whenever you enter the building or you leave, disinfect, wash them. When you enter a room after a break, when you went to the bathroom, before and after meals, if you really sneezed, then you know, people are like, oh. Wash your hands. Also, if you need a printer or anything, usually all of them have like a disinfectant, so use it before, use it after. And they also say, in general, wash your hands every 2 hours. I mean, I hope this is common sense, but we still have to say it because not everybody always does it. But I think it's very important. If we all stick to hygiene, it already makes it way better than if you don't. Mouth mask is obligatory in the entire campus, so indoor and also kind of outdoor in the premises. I don't know how far that goes. For the people in the level, well, it's inside the inner circle of Kortrijk where it's still mandatory to have it. So you really even have to outdoors. Here, I would say as long as you're on the site itself, definitely wear it. You are allowed to take it off if you want to drink something or eat something real quick, and if you can respect that 1.5 meters distance. But sadly, that means most of the time you will be wearing the mouth mask. Even us as teachers, the only reason why I took it off now was because of the live stream, because that would be very annoying. But when I teach classes, I'll also be wearing one. Yeah. So yeah, keep the mouth masks. Like I said, in the building, limit that movement. Always wear the mouth mask. Avoid gathering, don't clutter up, and respect that circulation rules, like I said before. Then in class, try to use the same seat every week. It's one of those typical rules. And try to make sure there's space in between you guys. Obviously, it's not always possible. Then yeah, that's the sad thing. So then you have to get a bit closer. I think there will be QR codes everywhere on every classroom for contact tracing. So please use it in case somebody gets ill, that we kind of know who was in the same room. And after class, we'll actually ask you to help just disinfect your desk or chair where you sat. So that helps the next people coming in. If all of you guys do the same thing, it will have this, everybody has the same amount of work in cleaning up. So then it's evenly spread. So don't be that dick that doesn't do it. Please follow those rules. But be my guest to disinfect more. Take a shower in the disinfectant. No, don't take a shower in the disinfectant. But if you want to use more disinfectant, be my guest. I mean, but please follow those rules of disinfectant. Read what it does. I'm not a medical person. Regarding catering, which might also be a question, sadly the offer is limited. The reason is that we don't want you guys to stay here to eat. There will be some things available, but it's very, very limited. So look at the announcements that will be posted as well regarding if you can order food, whatever. But just, I would say, by default, try to go to your dorm or go home to eat. If you go by train and you have to stay here for an entire day, bring your own lunch, I would say. It's a bit annoying, but yeah. But if you want to order, there is this link, resto.hos.be, that you can use. There's also, again, the whole contact tracing with QR codes if there's a restaurant with tables. Yeah, you can take it off to eating, else it would be very annoying. But again, respect that 1.5 meter rules. Tables are, if they're tables, they're regularly cleaned by the HOS staff. So it's not that we just leave them there for an entire semester. We clean, or they clean, the tables. Follow that timetable as well. So stick to that. You'll see those abbreviations, I think. So FCU stands for physical contact hours, and COL stands for collective online learning. Which means this is online, so the COL is online, the others are on campus. If you cannot be present for an evaluation moment that would happen physically, you have to, so for example, because of infection or you have to stay in quarantine, you have to go through the entire thing that you're used to when you're sick, which is you have to go through IBAMA flex, you have to provide the necessary documents to show that you're ill or quarantined. There's no exceptions there. Because else people could misuse that, right? So IBAMA Flex is the thing to go. Then also contact your teachers, obviously, to tell them like, hey, I cannot make it. And then in case there, we'll see it might be an additional moment for your exam, or we might have an online version. It's also possible when we switch to Orange that we have to go online, full online again for examination, but we'll see when it comes to that. It's very hard to predict it right now. Right? Yes, I think that's the most important thing. During breaks, like I said, go outside, only sit on the seats that are allowed, wear your mouth masks. I mean, I keep repeating myself here, but I think most of the things are pretty straightforward. And I also mentioned it already, if you feel ill, please isolate yourself, stay at home, contact your physician, ask what he or she suggests you to do, which might be taking a test or something else. You might not have any symptoms of COVID, but if you're still ill, don't come to class. These are the symptoms that might give the suspicion of having COVID, which are not good. So if you're in pain and almost dying, chances are you might have it. But even if you just have a fever, you don't feel well, contact your physician, right? Don't come to class. If you're like doubting, just don't risk it, right? But make sure you have the legal documents. There's obviously a bit of a change. I mean, if you can attend a class, that's not the same as not attending an evaluation moment. For an evaluation, you really need the document, else you fail. For classes, I mean, be my guest to upload it so we're aware of it, but I'm a bit less strict. Yeah, so there's also the contact tracing from government that will automatically kick in. That's not something we are in control of. If that happens, fully cooperate. If there is actually a case of infection, make sure that, and you were present in the level for 72 hours, we will ask you to actually fill in that form from West, so we are also aware of you having COVID-19, so we can do our internal contact tracing, like, okay, what happened here, who you got in touch with, so we can also take the measurements according to the rules of government. So if you sadly would get COVID-19, first of all, I hope you get well pretty fast, but please make sure we also are aware of it, or West is aware of it. You don't have to mail me saying that. Well, you can, but so yeah, contact us for sure as well. Contact DAE, but I would say contact Alex for that one, because you're in game development and he's the coordinator. Also, if it would happen that you are ill, or I mean, if you're quarantined, don't see that as time off. I'm quarantined. Don't. Please stay in touch with us. That's the reason why we also have the online content. I mean, if you're ill, obviously you're ill. Health is more important. We don't expect you to work. But if you're quarantined out of precaution, doesn't mean you don't have to work for DAE, right? So stay in touch with us online through the Lego Canvas email. We're also going to have Discord up and running again. So use those channels to communicate with us. There's a question.
If you were to be quarantined, the sessions that take place on campus, will they also be provided online?
Good question. So if you have to go in quarantine, the content that is presented during those 1.5 hours live on site, will they also be available online? That kind of depends on the course. I would say yes. So for example, for graphics programming, what I'll do in that 1.5 hours is kind of have this group Q&A about the content. You can ask questions. That's a hard one to share with the people online, but we'll make slides of that. If we do a code review, we'll make slides of that, and all the slides will be pushed online. There will be courses that actually just record their sessions on the classes itself.
It will be available online.
Yeah.
I'll webcast it live, and then you can choose to come to watch the live stream at home, and the recording will be made available as well.
So, for example, Tom Tesh is in the audience, and he says for his course, it's actually going to be all recorded, so it's going to be fully online. For graphics, it's possible that after first week, I see that there's a lot of questions that might be interesting to share. I'll also make or find a way to share it with the people online. So don't worry about that. All the most crucial information and content will be online for sure. Because of the whole quarantine thing, we kind of have to make sure that whenever a person cannot attend physical classes, you are still able to do all the stuff that is required for the course and that you can pass. So we are aware of that. We just, like for example, for graphics, I use that moment to meet you guys, to have a discussion, to just talk about the stuff, the content. I'll try to to share it as well, but for sure all the content that is needed is online, so don't worry about that. But a good question. If it really impacts your education, it will be looked at case by case depending on what is happening with your personal situation and health. So if that's a thing, contact us and we'll look at it for you personally. These are some mails that are still important as well. So if you have any questions about a general student thing, it's kortrijk.studentensekretariaat@west.be, and then the regular help desk is also still there, helpdesk@west.be. Stuvo also is still there, and there are still libraries in case you really need it. I don't know a lot of the AE people using it, but it's also with like probably time slots and everything, so it's monitored. You cannot just walk in. So basic rules: limit your contact bubble as well in the group. Like I said, don't clutter up as a bunch of 30 people. Don't be those lemmings that all walk together. Try to find a few people, stick to that bubble. Keep 1.5 meters away from each other if possible, and definitely pay attention to the hygiene. And yeah, if you sadly are one of the people that catches COVID-19, communicate it with HOEST and DAE as soon as possible, so we can also take our own measurements. We're going to try to do our best. It also means it's possible that things will go wrong, even though we had the online version last year in second semester, which was quickly done because we had to adapt to the situation. It's still not perfect, right? There's still going to be some hiccups, but the most important thing is that we are aware of hiccups and issues. We are working on them to fix them. If it still prevents you from doing stuff, just communicate. Communication is important, so email your teachers if there's something not clear, if there's something like maybe that's not the best way. But of course, we're not going to adapt to your personal preferences. We have a certain pipeline we figured out. It's not because you like Twitch more than YouTube that we're going to push everything to Twitch, for example. But I mean, if you have any suggestions, obviously share them. If there's any problems with content, share it. So yeah, communication is important, and then yeah, be cautious and use common sense. You're all programmers. You should be able to figure that one out. I hope you can use your brains. Are there any more questions we can take for a few minutes? Yes?
So you said that we would be divided in groups again, like last year, like I was in 118. When will we know which group we're in?
Actually, the groups will be based on your classes. So I think Dutch is 2 classes, English is 2 classes. I think if you go to your timetable, you'll actually see which slot you're assigned to.
Don't we have to add the schedule to our timetable?
Yeah.
So we have to know which group to...
Well, the groups will be posted on Lego today or tomorrow.
Okay, so the groups will be posted on Lego today or tomorrow. Yeah, and then you can add your timetable. But I think the timetable is still also concept phase.
I'm not sure yet if it's in draft or not.
Yeah, because it's a big puzzle compared to last year's to make it work with all the rooms and everything. So.
But the official group list will be...
Yeah, everything will be put online, will be announced on Lego. So follow Legos. Definitely this week and the beginning of next week, because just like last year's, things can still change in timetable. So I would say every day look at it for definitely the first weeks. Yes? If we go back to code green, we go back to normal classes, but ain't gonna happen, I think, this year. I don't think we're gonna go to code green. I would like to say something, but I won't because I'm streamed online.
So I have a small question, but it's more like about the graphics programming.
Yes?
Would you recommend anything to read or to watch?
So the question is, for graphics programming, do you recommend anything? I would not really focus on courses right now, but I mean, the first week, that's a question you can ask during the course. I gladly give you a few pointers, but be aware that we are aware that there's no preliminary knowledge. We don't expect you to already know something except the things from first year.
And bring a box of tissues.
Yeah. And Tom says bring a box of tissues. Interpret it the any way you want. But the thing is, what we do expect is that you know your stuff from last year, right? I'm gonna, for example, the first week do a recap of math, but I still expect you to already know what a dot product and a cross product is and how you use it. So I build up on that, but there is no other resources. But during class first week, ask me, I can give you a few hints already as well.
Thank you.
More questions? All right, so that's it. For the people at home, I'm gonna pause the stream. I think after this, we have the people from Dirk from VFX also giving you a presentation. So stay tuned if you want to watch that.